Welcome in to the Wolfman Gardening channel. Today I'm going to go over some of the stuff that you can do to try to keep the moisture out of your garden when it's had so much rain in it like we've had this month. This has probably been the most rainy season I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, the amount of rain that we've gotten. This is the second day that it hasn't rained in a row. I guess since the end of April. And with that being said, we've lost 90% of our pickling cucumbers due to they were stressed already because of all the water that they were getting. This black soil that we have here, it is really, it holds water a lot. I know I need to amend the soil by bringing some sand in, some compost, and changing the soil up, but I just haven't had the time nor the money to do so. But I'm going to tell you some of the things that you can kind of do that some of it we should have been doing way back before we started the garden and laying it out. That's part of the layout, is knowing where the runoff is, and when you get torrential rains, where the water flows in your yard or in your garden. Now, I know that the water flows from this high ground up here back this direction, and also from over in this direction, it flows back this way. So I'll show you here. Let's take a look at how I've got the layout. And we did get our panels in today. We got 6 more cattle panels, and we're going to put those up today as well. And we're going to get our cucumbers that have been on the ground, our cucumbers off the ground. Now, our pickling cucumbers are already gone, but we did start some more in the greenhouse last week, and they're up to about maybe 2 inches tall. They'll be ready to go out before too long. We're hardening them off right now. I knew I was losing them due to all the moisture and some golf ball size hail that we got 2 or 3 times in a row. Not only did it devastate my car, it devastated the garden, and it also killed my squash plants as well. All right, as you can see, here's our cucumbers, and they're growing fairly well. These are the Ashley and the tender green cucumbers. They managed to survive, but if you'll notice, they're growing out a pretty good ways. That's why I said if you mound them, you want to give these plenty of space. But we planted all these pretty close together because we were going to trellis them. And if you'll notice, we've already got several cucumbers growing in. So we need to get those up and get them on these trellises here. The pickling cucumbers, they've all got smashed and they're dead. The hail really took a toll on these pickling cucumbers. Okay, when we're putting these panels up, what we're doing is we're driving a stake halfway. See where this panel is half and half, and we'll put this other panel, I'll show you here. We're putting these panels to where they're side by side. This one stake right here, this one stake will actually hold both these panels, and then when we get them and zip tie them together, that one, and then we'll zip tie them to this here, and that'll help hold. But these panels are 50 1/4 inches, 50 1/8. So what we'll do is we'll butt a tape measure, we'll run it down, and we'll drive another stake at 50 to 50 1/4 inches on both sides. We've done it on this side as well. And when we go to stab these in, I'll show you here in a minute, makes it a lot easier, especially when you're doing it by yourself. Now we'll tie them together with our zip ties and secure them to the pole and move to the next one. Alrighty. Now then, we've got all of our panels up, and you can see it goes all the way down. And we managed to get our cucumbers off the ground. Got them trained to go up just a little bit here on both sides. So, and then we're going to replace these down through here that died in the hailstorm, and we're going to put the ones that we got growing in the greenhouse in. Now that we got our panels up, we've got everything here. We got everything staked up. Now comes the hard work. We've got to get all this grass that's grown through here because we got rain coming again tomorrow, and we've got to get all this grass out of this garden. And then we got to come back in and we got to retrim and cut off some of the bottoms. Oh, there's another wild tomato plant that came up. Have no idea what variety it is, but we're gonna let it grow and see. So let's get started. Okay, now what we've done is I've come in with a weed eater and I've scalped all this grass as low as I can to the ground, and you can see all that. Now we still got to come back in and actually pull the weeds around some of those. I did get the cucumbers I showed you before off the ground, and then we come in here and we took the weed eater and we really scalped this grass all the way down to the dirt. Now I do recommend wearing safety glasses for this, because when you're weed eating and you're hitting all that dirt and stuff, those rocks and dirt is going to be flying off of there high speed. So always safety first. We got everything, and we've got some of the tomatoes down here. We've got them tied up. We've got them pulled back on there. Hey little guy, what are you doing on there? You're not a pollinator. Anyway, we got everything tied back, everything up. All right, got my safety glasses up. Anyway, all the grass that's growing around all this stuff is helping hold that moisture into the ground. So in order to dry it out and help dry this garden out, we had to get in there, even though it's a little bit muddy still, we had to get in there and get that grass cut off and scalped all the way down to the dirt. That way the airflow coming through there can actually help dry the soil out a little quicker. And I'll show you another thing that I've done is whenever you're doing your garden layout in the very beginning of your season, it's always good to note when you do get heavy rainfalls where the natural water tends to flow. And after watching it for years in this area over here, I knew about where I needed to plant the garden, along with the direction of the rows. So in order for the water to flow through without eroding too much and staying in the garden as long. All right, now then, our garden naturally drains. This is the high side of the garden. So we put our rows all up in the front here, draining this way, that way, and we've put plenty of space in between. That way the rain will travel down these rows. And when it gets over here, if you'll notice, these over here are running this way because this is higher over here than it is over there. So naturally I want to force the water back this direction and out that direction there. And if you'll notice right through here, you can see where the rain is coming off of this high side, and it's naturally coming down through here, staying out of this area of the garden, staying off the tomatoes to where it's not just sitting in a puddle of water. And it naturally drains all the way down till it gets to the end. And right through here, it naturally slopes back this direction. So we turn these this way to defer all the water out of the garden. But we've done this over a period of 4 or 5 years of watching when it rains. before. This was not a garden spot. My garden spot was over there. So I got to noticing that this area over here stayed fairly, it was higher ground, so it naturally flowed out. Only thing I had to worry about was when we have torrential rain, is just managing to get what water does set up here to flow out and back towards the creek. Well, on this high side of the garden, we're able to run the tiller down in between the rows a little bit. Now then, it's on our hands and knees, and we've got to pull the weeds by hand through here, definitely in these peppers over here and over there. This back over here was still a little bit damp for the tiller, but we're slowly getting there. All right, now the finished product, you can see we've got all the weeds out from underneath our peppers. So now they can grow, and they can grow well. We'll come back in. I'll show you what we're going to do here. Is we're going to do a figure 8 type deal around these peppers. We'll put a T-post on this side and a T-post on the other side, and then we'll weave string back and forth to help hold all these in place. Okay, now I want to show the natural airflow. If you see, I trim, and you can see where these here are stressed out a little bit. So we'll trim these off. 12 inches of splash guard from where the weeds and the soil, where they are, until where our fruit starts to grow. And when we put them on these big arched trellises, you know, all of our fruit will be up here and not down low. I'll give you a little closer look. You can see what happens to these leaves like this when it sets on the ground. All that soil that gets on them like that, that's why I want to keep them up off the ground. Because you get this stuff here, you get all kinds of bacteria and fungus and all kinds of stuff that can grow on these. So now then we've got them up, we've got them off the ground to where maybe they will actually survive a little better. I want to show you this right here and this one right here and those two right there. These are wild tomato plants that I did not plant this year. You can see over here where I've got some peppers and my zucchini and squash, which the squash was damaged by some golf ball size hail and it killed most of them. But we have another wild tomato plant growing right there. And right here. All these wild tomato plants that are growing up right now, we're going to transplant these. We're going to dig them up, save the root ball, and we're going to transplant them into another garden where a friend of mine lost almost all of her tomato plants due to a flood. So donate these wild crops and donate to a friend. We have no idea what, they've got to be one of the varieties that we planted last year, but I'm not exactly sure which one that is. Gotta fix this guy. See how it's just flopping in there? Gotta take the string. All right. And I hope this video has been helpful for everybody. I know when you put all that time and all that effort into seeding and getting everything out in the garden, finally getting it to grow, it's mid-May. It's almost too late to plant anything, especially in my region. It gets so hot so quickly that we may end up having to put some shade cloth on some of this in order to make it, or to let it survive. So, like, comment, share this video, think about subscribing, hit that bell notification, and it lets you know anytime I put a new video out. And like always, keep it growing.